Joe Orth and I are starting a podcast. What should we call it?
Hey, don't pick on me. You know why? Because this is why. Let's see what he says.
The Joe Show?
Give Joe the business?
That's right.
Cup of Joe.
Cup of Joe.
What is happening here?
Would you listen?
We'll give you a chance.
Thank you. That's Joe.
That's Rooster.
And this is the Together We Shall podcast, episode 52. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm back in Virginia Beach.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like when we talked the other day, in one of our weekly work conversations, for the first time in a long time, I've seen this background. And so for those people watching, they're like, someone's probably confused. Like any new listeners that joined for whatever 48 to 50-ish were like, wait a minute, there's not a green wall. Where is he now?
Yeah, where in the world is Rooster Rossiter? Yeah, man. So for those that are tracking, back in mid to late February, Lori's dad fell ill. And with that, Lori jumped to the occasion as the caregiver extraordinaire. So we left Virginia, we went to Baton Rouge, where we lived in 3 or 4 Airbnbs over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, which was an experience and probably a whole nother podcast in and of itself. And then he got so much better so quickly and wonderful progress where he was discharged back to the home. And then Lori was the caregiver every single day for a good month and a half, which was really awesome to witness her do that. Having been Ainsley's caregiver around the clock, it was something I hadn't seen her do every single day in over 8 years. So it was really, really awesome to witness. And the course of the ailment, it healed through love and medicine and listening to the doctor's orders, and he was able to say, you know what, I got it from here. So he's safely home in Louisiana, and Lori and I are safely here back in Virginia Beach. In the past 2.5 months has had me and her on the road, different backgrounds, as Joe said, for the podcast. So
I'm glad Terry's back and healthy and watching Gunsmoke and able to sit back and watch College World Series getting ready to the road to the College World Series starting here soon. I know I'm excited personally for that, as I think Terry is probably as well. Some good teams look like they're going to make a run for Omaha.
Yeah, man, what a wild deal. If you pay attention to college athletics, specifically baseball, and softball, good gosh, what a turn in recent times for the talent coming out of there. And you bring that up, and I can't help but I have to tell you, I watched more college basketball and the whole March Madness thing than I ever did in my life, because I was right there sitting down with Terry watching this. And McNeese State University, which is his alma mater, they made it to the big show. And actually, I think our guest, which I'll get to that, had a bracket. And I was like, you should be careful. Those Cowboys are going to do something. And well, they didn't. But anyway, and while we were there, he's got the SEC channel. Did you know that the LSU Tigers have a women's beach volleyball team that is competing at the USC Stanford level of beach volleyball?
Without sarcasm, to think anything LSU and women outside of Livy Doon, it's hard to process.
Oh wow, yeah. Dude! It says the almost 40-year-old man about the lady less half his age.
But that she took over took over campus for women's, I guess, athletic. She's an athlete too.
Well, so yes, and she was actively involved in some of the stuff we were watching too, because the LSU women's gymnastics team won the national championship, and it wasn't on her doing, which is kind of a point here. Yeah, the team is so much more than that one person, and they surged, and now they got one going to the Olympics coming up. Speaking of college baseball coming up, the Olympics this summer. What are we doing right now, dude? What are we talking about?
We're talking about athletics.
Yes.
Right? And we're talking about movement, and our guest has a company that is based around movement.
That's right. Let's just bring her in, because I know she's going to have fun dancing with us. So, Ann Hupp, welcome to episode 52.
I have been dying to be on here. Thank you.
We're so glad it worked out.
And college baseball, go Vols.
Oh, yes, of course. So let's put this into context. We always ask our guests, who are you? Where are you coming to us from physically? And why do you think you're on the Together We Shall podcast?
All right. So I am Ann Hupp. I am co-founder of Mettle Events, formerly Kale Running. This is our 21st year in business, believe it or not. I am coming to you live from Charlottesville, Virginia. My partner in life, my baby daddy, my husband, my best friend, Kevin, who is also my business partner, retired in June of 21 from Department of Defense. He was a nuclear engineer. He's a civilian. And during COVID, we walked the dogs a lot and drank a lot of coffee in the morning and a lot of vodka in the evening, and asked me if I wanted to stay in Norfolk when he retired. And I said, absolutely not. But I can't go. I can't leave. He said, why not? I said, because I'm one of 5 kids and I'm the last one in Virginia. I've got my parents, which are 2 miles, they're 2 miles down the road. He said, let's take them with us. And I'm like, whoa, brother, I didn't say that. So I said, all right, you got to ask him. He said, okay. And he didn't even get the question out of his mouth all the way. And they jumped at it. And they said, yes, absolutely. We will go with you. And so we started looking for a house. It took us about 6 months to find a house. It had been abandoned for 2 years. It was a total gut, but it had good bones.
Charlottesville,
Virginia. So UVA it's my other favorite orange team, but my number one team is Tennessee Volunteers.
Yes. There's so many. Yeah, you could derail the whole conversation about just the Volunteers and the Vols, but the question is, why do you think that you're a guest on the Together with Shop podcast?
I think I'm a guest because of a couple of reasons, and I was thinking about this. Back in the day, Rooster, I met this crazy guy pushing a stroller, not even a baby jogger. It was just a stroller down the boardwalk the morning of some 5K. And what's going on here? Because, Rooster's never met a stranger in his life. And he jumped in. He was a bandit. He ran the 5K and everything changed. And then I was extremely honored to become friends with this crazy guy named Rooster and his family. And then I got to meet Joe Orth. Joe came along. And then I got the second president's coin ever. And I carry it with me always because I'm going to be the first to pop that bad boy down on the bar.
And go on, because I want to unpack all of this stuff.
I support inclusiveness. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, quite frankly. Treating others as you would want to be treated is the only rule we have in this house.
That is why you're here. It's definitely scratching the surface. There's some more places, but I'm just taking the coin out and I'm putting it down on the bar. So, Ann, let's see your coin. You have it?
Can I walk away?
Wait. What? I don't think that's part of how this works, Joe. Joe, should she be able to walk away?
My bag, it's right through that door.
There you go.
I mean,
let's see what she can do.
If she can find it in under 60 seconds.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Ready to go. So the coin is a challenge coins, friend, and while Ann's going to go find hers, in the military history, if you were ever away from your base and you were returning back to friendly lines, you would be challenged by the sentry or the person that's the guard of the base. And upon that challenge, you would have to answer with the password. And in some cases, that was actually a device or a coin or a memento or a something that indicated that it was like your key to get back into base. And so over the years, that's evolved. And today in the military, you'll know a lot of military members who receive unit coins or coins for kudos or for doing great things. And we kept that tradition with Ainsley's Angels, and there are 7 people who've received presented by the President for Excellence and Inclusion coins. And as Ann alluded to, she is 2 of those 7, and she's digging feverishly through her go bag.
USB cables, all kinds of cables. Yes. This is what you carry in your briefcase.
That's great, Ann, but Joe has a clock and it's rolling and we still haven't seen the coin.
Yeah, bless America. Hold on. Oh my God.
So friends.
Pressure. Read it and see.
It was like 72 seconds.
Oh, come on.
Well, I tell you what, we're just all going to win.
This.
I love it.
That's great.
That's so special.
This was such a proud moment and it meant so much to me. You guys have no earthly idea.
I remember like when you got it down there at the boardwalk in Virginia Beach. God, however
It was
many
that.
years ago.
I think it was the first Pride 5K, Run the Rainbow.
It might have been the first Pride 5K. I
I-
know Briley was there. Briley was filming. It's a Spotlight Saturday episode. Of course, you referenced Pride, Run the Rainbow. That's Kelly O'Clair. We had
Yep.
Kelly on the podcast for Pride Month last year or the year before. God, time goes by so fast. That was episode 37 with Kelly, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell episode. If you haven't listened to that episode, friends, please give it some chance. I mean, I want to tell everybody what it's about just because it's that powerful. A Marine that Joe and I served with on active duty during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy timeline for the United States military embraced the fact that he is a homosexual male with children and married to a woman as an active duty Marine,
Yep.
but he couldn't tell anybody.
Yep.
So go tune into 37. Yeah, well, and Miller time, ladies and gentlemen, it's that special part of the show where everybody gets a chance to get their favorite beverage. So because Ann had her coin, even though it was 72 seconds late, she still had it, and that's awesome. So we invite you to get your favorite beverage. Josh, that's you, Mr. Goldstein. Make sure Josh's feeding tube is hooked up. Let him get his favorite beverage rolling. I've got some water because water's good, but I also have my favorite energy drink, Monster. Not a sponsor
Yet.
or probably ever, but anyway. Joe, what are you sipping? What are you sipping on?
I'm sipping on coffee, the Dunkin' Donuts K-Cup, who probably will never be a sponsor either. But
Yes, very good. And do you have something to sip on there? Because,
Oh, well, Snoop Dogg happens to be one of my favorites, so I got a little gin and juice. I'm just joking.
I'm on. Yeah. But what's funny is she could totally not be joking.
She could not be joking. And here's do you still have the kegerator?
Oh, yes. So she got her.
What a great.
Oh my gosh.
It's covered in
This is
all
great.
of our favorite brewery stickers now because I live in the middle of like brewery, vineyard, distillery heaven.
So in 2003, I started playing fantasy football. In 2007, we built our house in Virginia and moved here and started playing fantasy football in local leagues that I was managing in around 2008 or 9 and played for, 5 solid years where I was like the president and the treasurer and 4 different leagues, all in-person drafts. And we had a kegerator in the garage. And so if you were in my fantasy league, you could come to the draft, drink on the keg, come over every Sunday and watch football. Needless to say, that was not sustainable. And so I found a different hobby, and I put my kegerator out on Facebook, and I was like, it's for sale, dude. And you were on like 30 seconds in. Where is it? We want it.
Because it's a regular Wednesday purchase, correct?
Yeah, of course, every Wednesday.
It was for the Hupp house.
So yeah, they showed up, man, and picked it up, and it was gone. And I had no regret because I knew that it would continue to be used regularly. I had no idea that it would still be being used over a decade later.
On the
God.
daily. We have cocktail hour here, depending on what kind of day it is. Might start at 11 a.m., always by 4.
Always by 4. Oh, shit.
Right.
Joe's like, dude, I want to move to Charlottesville. And then Joe's like, I don't think I could do that, actually. That's a lot.
I definitely, yeah, I'd have to like warm up. But I tell you though, like Ann was talking about the finding the house, buying the house. From far away, the journey of watching it just on social media has been pretty cool. Just seeing you guys out there and building it, cutting down trees. But the garage now is done, I think, right?
Yeah, it's the new Mettle Events headquarters.
Nah, man. Kevin is putting that education and whatever multiple decades of work really to the test now. It looks great.
Thank you. You have to come for a visit. It's you won't want to leave. It's very peaceful. We don't hear any sirens. There's no traffic. We have 2 acres, 2.2 acres. We're surrounded by woods. It's just we have mountain biking trails literally across from our driveway, hiking trails all over the place. It's a dream come true.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So exciting. And how is, this is May, it's the month of mental health. Got to make a reference here. You start talking about connecting with nature and appreciation of beauty. Like, is that something that you're finding more calm and peace in living in this serene environment and the things you're describing?
The quality of our life, it's not even measurable. It's so much better. We wake up every single morning at 6 a.m. We make 2 cups of coffee. We walk the dogs for a mile to 2 miles just in, around the area. We come back. Owen is now 16. He's a junior in high school. He gets ready for school. I make breakfast. I pack his lunch. He's driving now to school with a permit, where one of us is always in the car right now. In July, he gets his license, which is still mind-boggling to me.
He's got something big going on this weekend, doesn't he?
Prom! Yes.
Oh man.
Prom. Yeah, I'm having huge flashbacks, but of course, I was in high school in the early 80s. Owen's perspective is totally refreshing, but different. He likes the idea of going with a girl, but he doesn't want it to be a girl from his school because he doesn't want any drama.
Interesting.
And so he's never gone out or talked to a girl from his own school, because if it goes south, then he has to see her every day.
Wow. Somewhat a bit of wisdom beyond his years, perhaps.
I think, you know what? I think he's an only child to 2 old parents.
Yeah, right. Let's acknowledge that. So for a moment, you said you went to school in the early 80s, and I know that there's a big 60th birthday coming up for the one you love.
Yes.
So between the two of those equations there, like Owen's got parents that are easily, 40 years his elder, 40.
41 to be exact.
Yeah. And so, yeah,
41
and so
for me.
the late 70s and the early 80s vis-a-vis the 2019s and 2025s, like those are totally different periods of all things. And that's an interesting perspective. And so you think that his ability to kind of see life through this different lens, this different perspective, is tied to having parents that are 4 decades older than him?
I do. And I also think, so I was raised in a house with my grandparents. My mom was raised in a house with her grandparents. We're raising Owen in a house with his grandparents, even though they have their own apartment. They're totally self-sufficient. He spends quite a bit of time with them. He likes going down there and chit-chatting with them. Me being his mom, I am demanding. I demand that you treat others the way you would want to be treated. And there's nothing in this world that is so terrible enough that you have to lie about it. So he's brutally honest. And I just think that somehow, some way, we have a carbon copy of the two of us, but better. Yeah. He's the best of both of us, and which is kind of cool because he makes us want to be better and do better.
You always want to leave the world a better place than you found it. And I was talking to someone the other day. It was like, my kids make me want to be better.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whether it's better physically, academically, as a leader, as a parent, just be a better person because of them. And that's the goal as a parent.
You want better for them, but at the same time, their mere existence makes you want to be a better person. And I never wanted, and it'll happen eventually, but I never wanted someone to find out who his mom was and say, ugh, what a jerk. I never wanted that. I wanted him to be proud. I want him to be proud of who we are, what we represent, and what we've created. Because, kind of tying in the whole Mettle Events thing and athletics, we were the first organization. Well, first of all, we were the first RFID timing company in Virginia. We were the 62nd in the world back in the day. And we were the first ones that really embraced athletes with disabilities and embraced the whole movement. Actually, it's a movement. You guys have Ainsley's Angels all over the world, literally. And it's just, I don't know. You're the little bit of good in this world, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, goodness. Joe, you were going to say something. I have some stuff I want to ask here. Go ahead.
Well, so it's really, I mean, I know Rooster got all excited about the like first RFID timer in Virginia and the sixth time in the world because like that's something that people like don't even understand now. You go to a race, there's a bib, there's a tag on it, and it's like, and you guys were like some of the pioneers for that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you are like the chrono track, you know,
My
folks.
chronotrack number is 18. I was the 18th person in the world to have chronotrack.
I knew it was a small number.
So we bought this expensive timing equipment and we were learning how to use it. And we would have keg parties. We would get a keg with a tap on top, like fraternity party. And we would have a party. You would register yourself at the front door and take a chip and put it in your pocket. And then we had a mat at the back door and a mat in front of the keg. And the keg was in the furthest back corner of our yard. And the party was over. We'd all meet at Seashore on Sunday morning for a long run. But sometime in the middle of the night on Saturday, Kevin emailed you your beer drinking stats, how many times you visited the keg, and how much time elapsed between each visit. That's how we taught ourselves how to use the timing equipment, and that's how we got word out about ourselves that we actually knew what we were doing. True story.
Have you ever told that story? That shit's brilliant.
True story.
That's cool. That's really cool.
What is Mettle?
So Mettle is basically your attitude during adverse conditions. You really have to dig deep. And, at the end of the day, all you have is your will, your determination, and what you feel in your gut. And you gotta bring it every single day. You gotta bring it. And some days it's way harder than others, but you just do it. And it's a military term, Mettle is. And we thought that it was appropriate for a company name. And the sun is actually the Welsh symbol for strength.
So, I mean, tying into so many elements of everything, like our Together We Shall podcast for the past 51 episodes has always had a tie back to mental perseverance, to resiliency, to strength, to grit, and
Yep.
everything you just described established well before the Together We Shall podcast is that idea of having that bright light and having that ability to keep moving forward and to overcoming adversity. And how perfect is it that the first ever race that Ainsley did was timed by a business, a company, an entity that represents overcoming adversity. Because
Yeah.
what she did that morning on her first race was she overcame the curveballs and the sliders and the fastballs in the head, frankly, that had been pitched to her. And that morning, she was able to just immerse herself in the beauty, the serenity, the belonging. There were a lot of places prior to that where you had to go through a lot of steps to be included in a running event, especially one that was timed using, RFID, this radio frequency identification technique. But you were there, arms wide open, saying,
Yeah,
of
for sure.
course. Yeah,
Absolutely.
really special, really special. But it went well beyond, August of 2008, which if we do the math there, you're 0 and 16 years old, and
Yeah.
Ainsley's first race was like 16 years ago. So yeah, definitely a legend in the story that is our journey and Hupp. But since then, though, we've run into you at numerous races, not just in Hampton Roads or in Virginia Beach and on the ocean front, but like all over.
Yeah.
You said we have Ainsley's Angels all over the globe. Like
We do.
there's races that you've gone there and you've seen us. But what's that like when you're on a course and you see duo racers come by? Do you have a flash of like just 16 years of history run through your head about how far it's come, or what happens in those moments?
You know what? I get a big smile because the first thing I think is that it's a God wink from Ainsley. The second thing is that I could not be more proud because I was there for the first one, but no one knows it. I'm not going to scream out in the middle of an event because I'm working. It's pure pride, man. But pride in a good
Yeah.
way, not in a destructive way.
I've never heard it described that way. That's beautiful. Like pure pride. Yeah, I love that.
You know what? It's good for everybody. When I see you guys line up on the front line, I make a point to say hello to every rider and every runner. Because, at the end of the day, they had a million races to choose, but they chose ours and they've entrusted me. And my job, it's not really a job because I love what I do, but my job is important and people are counting on it. And, I take it very seriously. And when, the first time I was managing an event and I said, order about 25 extra medals, approximately, because we've got some riders coming and they get a medal too. And they said, what are you talking about? And they don't, it was a disconnect a little bit until it wasn't. That you've got two athletes here. You've got the rider who wants to be there, but then you have the runners who absolutely want to be there. And sometimes the only reason they're still running is because they have a rider. And I know some people that don't even run in races without a rider. So
you're looking at two of them right now. I mean, yeah, there's exceptions to that rule, but yeah, Joe's run with, gosh, he's got a list of like, I think it's over 100 unique riders or something that he's run with over his career. But some of the stuff that you just spoke to, it's the connection, really. It's the meaningful connection between two people that makes this duo team. But then it's the meaningful connection between the people that are supporting that element, such as the race organizer, the event coordinator, the timer. You going up and saying hello or good morning or thank you to that duo team is so in line with our mission of creating an environment of empowerment and frankly belonging. Because it's one thing for you to say, hey, yeah, you can have the duo teams on the course. You can have, wheels are authorized. That's cool. That's like, yeah, you're allowed to be here. But when you take it from that to this form of like actually welcoming someone
I
and
want them
then
to
going,
be there.
right, that's when you elevate it to the sense of belonging. And you know what happens when you do that, Anne? You create a sense of confidence in that team, in everyone who's there who otherwise is nervous about being there. And you talked earlier about this guy who was a bandit in this very first race. That was me. Look, dude, I didn't know anything about running. People had bibs, and the story's well documented. People had bibs on. I didn't even know they were called bibs. They were just these pieces of paper. I didn't know where you got those from. And the next thing this was one of Team Hoyt's first races, and they take off, and this guy who runs faster than Joe has Ainsley and is flying away with her. And all I could do was go, where, this is amazing, and we'll go run. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go do that. And I take off running down. And it was that mile, man. I got to the mile mark and they had already ran their second. They're at mile 2. I'm at mile 1 on an out and back.
Yeah.
And I get to see like her face. It went from, yeah, y'all come run to, oh my gosh, I love this, is what she was saying with her face. And I feel like I'm allowed to be here and I belong here.
Sure.
And that was the spark. That's what happened. But as time went on, there was a lot to navigate, and you were always there as a staunch advocate for us as an inclusive running team. Can you take us to some stories maybe from 2008 to today of moments where maybe you had to say a little bit something extra to allow us to even get the invitation or the welcoming?
If I had anything to do with the event, you were always welcome. You know that. But it's something as simple as running the Elizabeth River Trail and convincing the city of Norfolk, you got to move those bollards. Those bollards are the big metal filled concrete things that are in the middle of a pedestrian path so that you can't take a motorized vehicle on it or whatever it is. You got to move those bollards. It's got to be safe. Safety is paramount. We have to give them, we don't want them to get gobbled up. We want them to have a fair, fun, safe opportunity at this race. So we're going to give them a 2-minute head start, 3-minute head start, whatever the course dictates. Oh, well, you can't do that, or we've never done that before. I said, relax, we got you. Sit back, let us make you look good, is what I tell everybody. And sometimes they trust. And other times, they want to hire us and then tell us how to do our job. And I sit back and I don't fall on the sword often, but the duo, I fall on the sword every single time, man. It's not a
Well,
race without you guys.
what you're describing is being an ally, being an active ally for everyone. And in doing that, it has evolved what people have come to expect on race day. There's going to be a soft start, 1 to 3 minutes
Yep.
for those with wheels.
Yep.
And that's not done because they get some extra privilege
No.
or they're asking for some extra thing. Because I've had race directors that are like, hey, you say you want to be included. And if you just want to be included, then come to our race and you're welcome to. But now you're asking for special favors. And I'm
It's
like,
not
no,
safe.
no, no, it's not. Tell us why us having a soft start is not a special favor.
Because it's safety. It's safety. It's the safety's first. You're not being swarmed by, there's always that 12-year-old that's on the front line thinking that they're going to win the whole thing and they peter out at 100 yards. You've got that kid out of the way. You've got the walkers that are going to start on the front line that have no business up there, but you can't tell them anything because they're professional walkers. And I don't mean to say that with any disrespect whatsoever, but it's a safety factor first and foremost. Second of all, you guys pay a registration fee. You should be able to enjoy the event just like everyone else. And if giving you a 2-minute head start to put some space between you and the front line of that running group, great. And here's what nobody realizes. You guys damn near run as fast pushing a buggy as the front line of the runners behind you do. You're clocking the same times. Where's the
So
problem?
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to do that. And you've had to kind of revolutionize or adapt the way you do timing because when Ann says we're giving you a 2-minute head start, let's break that down. You're not getting a 2-minute head start. You're getting a 2-minute soft start, which essentially means everybody's going to start at zero. It's
Yep.
just that your timer starts
Yep.
when you go across the mat and it finishes when you come across the mat. So what did you have to do from a as a professional in the race timing, event coordination, hosting world to facilitate that in a way that is, I guess, scalable, sustainable, possible? What's the trick?
Well, you just have to be clear on your permit, and you're not asking, you're telling. And if they don't like what they're hearing, you tell them that they need to call Joe and Rooster and explain why it's not going to work. Good luck with
Yeah.
that.
And
I
you
mean,
got to have Kevin sitting there behind the computer. I can picture him like with his glasses. They would always be hanging down, and he'd be looking, messing with the
Kevin is my
waves.
secret sauce, man. He is my secret sauce. He is
yeah,
the one. I'm the face, I'm the loud mouth, I'm the one that's difficult to work with. I'm the boogeyman under the bed. Kevin is the real deal. He's the one who makes it happen. He's the one that figured it out. He puts the markers in to so the beauty about chip timing is this. It's not when you start or when you finish, it's the time that elapses. And so it doesn't matter if you're first to start or if you're last to start, literally 47 minutes later, depending on the size of the event and how many are in each wave and how many minutes are between each wave. It doesn't matter. What matters is how fast you run from point A to point B. That's it. So when you guys get the early start, if you're running the fastest between point A and point B, doesn't matter when you start. You could be last and have the first place.
we also run into situations where if we get the soft start and we go out and we're rolling and we get to the right and it's safe, and then the next corral starts the race, where we've had a runner who ran so fast that the number one runner in the corral behind him never saw him.
Right.
And so as this guy's running his race and he's like, I'm going to win, I'm the first place. Later, when the results come out,
Right.
Sean Evans is the number one finisher with Sierra. Sierra is the first place finisher, and she's like 14 years old. And this fast guy's like, wait, I never saw them. Well, if I could have saw them, I would have chased them down. And I'm like, well, bro, you got to run your race. You got to run your race.
Run your own race.
Yeah. Yeah. All the first places at Boston and New York. Well, if I would have saw another runner, I could have ran fast. No, you ran as fast as you could. It didn't have to do with that other runner. But I mean, like Ann was saying, the accepting and welcoming with a smile. There wasn't a race that you were at where you weren't smiling. There wasn't the hugs. There wasn't the kisses. There wasn't the pictures. Your companies, you and Kevin, Mom, the definition, Nancy, of accepting and welcoming athletes, period. You
Thank you.
guys treating others with respect.
I do have to admit, in the very beginning, when we started out, I didn't have Owen. And then I wound up pregnant. Big surprise after 7 years of trying. And we had always worked with autism, cerebral palsy, Special Olympics, you name it, I've worked with them. 5P minus society. Didn't even know what that was, but they taught me a lot. You always have the one doubter, like, she doesn't fit in. She doesn't have a child like ours, and her child is normal. And I was labeled the mom with the normal kid, but yet my normal kid's over there talking a whole foreign language of video gaming with your kid and a bunch of other kids, because that's how we've raised him. And kids don't know. Kids don't have all of that. They're not blinded by the bullshit. They don't see a disability. They don't see a color. They see a little bit of difference, but they go in and they find a commonality and they latch onto that. And, Owen was raised with going to autism, going to cerebral palsy, going to Special Olympics, going to the Pride Run. And he sees people he knows, and one year he saw some teachers from his school. His teachers were extremely uncomfortable. What are you doing here? Why are you here? And I walked up to the teachers later and said, hey, this is what we do. And it's cool. And you're just at a 5K. And my kid's just helping out at a 5K. And so there's a lot of people that want to make it something that it's not. It's just, we love what we do. We love raising money from nonprofits. We love providing chairs, helping to provide chairs for kids that don't have them, that wouldn't have this opportunity if it weren't for you, who knows me, who loves the cause. It's like this circle, and I love it. But not everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with your help, a lot more people have gotten it, and they've gotten it because, as Joe said, you've led with a smile. You've been welcoming. You've created a sense of belonging, and I've told you multiple times how grateful I am personally for that. So I continue to echo that, and I love that you've raised your son in an environment of awareness, but not in an awareness that is to be misunderstood as charity.
No, never.
It's an awareness of love of mankind, and that's beautiful.
Well, treating others as you would want to be treated, man. That is my recipe for life, and it really encompasses everything. Don't lie, cheat, or steal.
Yeah. Oh, if only it was that simple.
Oh,
but
my God.
it is, you know what I mean?
It is.
Really, it is. It's just like, man, it is. So out of all the races that Mettle owns, times, works, what's your favorite?
Oof. I have to say, because I've run it, and it's a family affair. It's all of my besties from the industry. I've seen a lot of my friends participate in it. I have to say, New York City Marathon. So I run it.
I'm like, damn, it was the perfect setup for you to say the Marine Corps Marathon, because then Joe.
It wasn't. I thought you were gonna do I was trying to transition completely. I thought you were gonna say tacky sweater because of your friend, and then we could talk about skin cancer awareness.
Well, no, let Let me fix
Okay.
myself here. So I thought Ann was going to say Marine Corps Marathon. Joe, why did I think Ann was going to say Marine Corps Marathon? Let's just get this out of the way.
Okay. Why?
Because we are official charity partners again, and we will be there. And if you would like to run or roll with us, we would love to have you. And perhaps you can see a Hupp or two on the course.
So how do we do that, Joe? How do we get in touch with Ainsley's Angels to join the Ainsley's Angels?
Joe at Ainsley'sAngels.org.
All right, awesome. All right, cool. So now that we got that out of the way, because every episode has the Marine Corps Marathon plug. Ann said New York, and New York is awesome. I love that. Maybe one day. There's a lot to unpack with that answer, and I'm glad that you love that race.
As an employed timer, New York, absolutely. Number one. As an event owner, tacky sweater. That's where my heart and soul is.
Tell us why.
Tacky sweater came about due to a massive, massive loss of my best friend, Diddy Aussie. We've been best friends our whole lives. We grew up together. We were kids together. We lifeguarded together. We went to junior high and high school together. Her husband has been my best friend since kindergarten. When we were young, we would go to the beach. I would surf. She would sit on the beach. We would hang out. We would lifeguard. And her husband noticed a spot on her back. And she went to her dermatologist, an honest to God dermatologist, MD, who took a biopsy and said, yeah, you know what? I don't think it's much, but I'll send it off to pathology. Well, he called her and said, yeah, it's melanoma, but I think I got it all. Now I know that was not the proper way. I didn't know it back then. And a year and a half later, my best friend passed away of melanoma, metastatic melanoma, because it spread. And I was fortunate enough to have an extremely understanding husband, great girlfriends who took care of my son after school. And I was able to spend every single day with Diddy for months before she passed. And we had crazy talks and funny talks, and we cried so hard some days our tears rolled down our legs, meaning we peed our pants. I miss her. I can say her name now and talk about her without crying because I remember all the good times. And she was, she talked me off the ledge so many times, and we solved all the world's problems on a 5K run. I ran with Diddy 6 days a week, and we did a 5K every single day. And it was hands down, she said, she was a school teacher in the city of Norfolk, school teacher of the year. She said it was the best way to start her day, because we talked about issues. We had simpleton solutions. Of course, we solved all the problems in the world. We'd go about our days and go to our jobs, and we'd do it all again the next morning. And it was awesome. So we started a foundation, the Mettle Events Foundation, and we raise money for melanoma education and awareness. So every single year we buy like 36,000 packets of sunblock, and the residents take it into the public school system and take it to the kid festival down at Townplay Park and various places, and teach the importance of sunblock and sunburns and that golden glow that you have that I used to think was so awesome. Not so awesome. I look like a patchwork quilt. Diddy was a school teacher, and she despised more than life itself theme sweaters, but she had one for every single stinking event. St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's, Christmas, Easter, theme sweaters, and they're hideous. And when I cleaned out her closet after she passed, there were all these stupid theme sweaters. That's what inspired Tacky Sweater. I wanted to do something to remember Diddy, to raise money for this, because if I didn't know and she didn't know, and we're relatively, bright people, then nobody knows. We had the very first ever free skin screening in all of Hampton Roads. We saw, I don't know, something ridiculous like 2,500 patients in a weekend. Then 2 years later, I got a call from a very nice woman whose husband was the fire chief in the city of Norfolk, and he died of melanoma. And It's the number one cause of death for firefighters. And I didn't know that. And I thought she was BSing me. And so while she's on the phone, I'm, looking it up in my computer, and sure enough, she's right. And she asked me if I would do something. And I said, yeah, no problem. So again, I go to EVMS, Department of Dermatology. I met with Dr. Van Voorhees. I said, we need to do something. And so we did a free skin screening for all of the Norfolk firefighters that wanted to participate. And it was a lot, almost 200. It was like 170 some. And out of that many, 6 cases of advanced melanoma, and the firefighter had no idea.
Wow.
So the money that we donate has purchased equipment. It's purchased grand rounds, which we have melanoma specialists, world specialists with cutting edge treatment. And they come to EVMS and they lecture. The money that we donate does that. And pretty much whatever they need the money to do is what they do. I trust. But I'll always do it. Always. Because it keeps Diddy's name alive. It's a fun event. This past year, 2023, was the biggest ever in the history of the event. We have a tacky sweater contest. We give away Evan Williams eggnog as the prize, of course. And then Smart Mouth is a beautiful partner that we really, really cherish a bunch. And they get it as well. And we're coming back. It's December 7th, 2024. Registration
There you
open.
go. The history of tacky sweater. That's a beautifully told story. And of course, May is Melanoma Awareness Month. What do you do differently in May?
Well, let me tell you what I do differently every 3 months of every single year. I go to the dermatologist. I get buck naked, and the dermatologist checks every single crack and crevice I have. And when you hear the words, you have melanoma, or you have a squamous, or you have a basal, it never gets easier. Basal, that's nothing to me right now, because we've had so many cut out. But every 3 months we walk out with stitches. Every 3 months, or a Band-Aid or something. Every 3 months I do a selfie, and I'm in the little gown, and I'm in the room, and you know where I am. Bob Marley died from melanoma. Think about that. It doesn't matter what your skin color is, what your gender is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are a sun worshiper or you're not. It doesn't matter. It happens when the cells separate and there's a mutation that occurs. Redheads are 92%, I think 92, 95% more likely to get melanoma than anybody else because of a gene that they have. Blue eyes, fair skin, your descent, if you're Italian or Irish or German, or there's so many factors. But at the end of the day, just go get it checked. It takes 1 hour. Who cares?
What does it look like? What is the spot on the back that the husband of Dee Dee noticed? Like what is it that we're looking for?
You know what? It could be the color. It could be black. It could be a brown freckle with a black spot in the middle of it. It could have ragged edges. It's not symmetrical. It could be perfectly normal until it's not.
Okay. So we need to be aware of things, blemishes, spots, bumps, things that appear on our skin. So just like we have said for years that women should have their breast checked for lumps,
Absolutely.
There needs to be just as equal level of emphasis, awareness, and education to have your body checked for things that don't look like they're supposed to be there, right?
When you turn on the hot water in the shower, strip down, look in the mirror, turn around, look all around in the mirror. And it's called the ugly duckling. If you see a new spot that really stands out, it's the ugly duckling. Get it checked. What's the harm? Oh, it's nothing? Good. But if it's something, take care of it.
I can tell you that seeing your posts when you're in your gown and doing your quarterly checks, they have resonated in my mind, in my psyche, to where when I am going to go out on the boat or go out to the beach or go for a run or go mow the yard, I'm wearing a hat that covers more of the face. I'm actually Lori got me some really nice stuff for my nose and the top of my ears.
We had our first official beach day on Mother's Day, and man, it was perfect. I
Nice.
mean, like that's what Leanne wanted to do. We got to go out there, the spot where her mom, frequented while down here, and just kind of like really set the tone for the season of safe outdoor activities. But I'm looking forward to the boys getting out of school here in a month, give or take, and camps and travel and vacations and all that, all the fun things that summer's gonna bring. Um, does your Owen know where he wants to go to school yet?
So top on his list because it's family tradition. Go Vols, University of Tennessee. But then he's looking at smaller schools like Bradford, Longwood, Bridgewater. He wants to go small, JMU. He wants to be a psychiatrist. Mental health is definitely, and younger people is a focus and a point of concern for him because it's a little dismissed and it's quite often over medicated and misdiagnosed. And it really has struck a chord in his heart. So I told him that he doesn't have to go to school with a medical school, that he can go to school and then apply to medical school.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about like medicine, right? Like the practice, like it's ever evolving and you don't have to,
Right.
jump right in. You can start small, there's no rush. You can transfer around, like you got to find what works for you, and the mental health in young people and misdiagnosis and just having the ability to talk about it. That is something at 16, like mental health were two words that never came out after one another when I was 16 years old at all.
I didn't even think about it, but I have to tell you, he really, and he's not the only one, but personally, he really did a downward spiral during 2020 when the schools got shut down and sports got shut down, everything got shut down. And he suffered, really suffered. And he didn't know how to express it. We found him a counselor in Hampton Roads, and then we moved here, and he was doing really well. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't. And we found him a counselor here, and I think, between having a really, really great counselor and a family that really cares and pays attention and holds you to task, I'm not going to let him flounder. Um, he realizes that, okay, this is a thing, man. And when you go, it's a thing because when you call Blue Cross Blue Shield Federal for a list of counselors that specialize in teenagers, specifically teenage boys, but teenagers in general, and there's not one available, and there's at least a 6-month waiting list at every single practice you call, that's an issue.
But I'm 6 months into this journey of finding the counselor myself, and I've enjoyed it. It's like the scene out of Old School, right? We're in the nest. I can say whatever I want in there, with the
Yeah.
exception of I'm going to hurt myself or hurt someone, and they can't tell anybody. So I can go in there and cuss and say whatever and knock shit over, and well, maybe not that, but it's safe. But I found this counselor going through insurance and all that, and there was a filter of accepting new patients in a wait list.
Right.
And it was forever on some of these. And I lucked
Yep.
out that
Yep.
like proximity, accepting new patients, and then that I ended up actually like liking, because I went through one or two that I was just like, this is not enjoyable. I do like that there's like some of that telehealth, I guess, and apps, and they're trying to make it more
They
accessible.
are. They are.
Um, Even with insurance, like some of that stuff is expensive, and that's what really sucks.
It is. And because there was nothing available, we had to go out of network. And that's a battle I have successfully waged so far, knock on wood, getting approval for out of network. So it's a challenge. But you know what? I'll go be a Walmart greeter. I'll go roll burritos at Taco Bell. I'll go dig a ditch. I don't care. as long as my kid has the help that he needs, doesn't matter to me. I'll do whatever I have to do.
There's
So,
definitely a time now where barrier to entry to mental health services is a significant barrier. And
yes.
it begs the question, like, what do you do, mom, when you hit these barriers for your son? If you know you can't get him in to see somebody, what types of other things have you found that work in your home, in your environment to expose him to?
Um, well, for sure, nutrition and exercise are top two. Because your body is a temple, and if it's healthy on the inside, most likely it's going to be healthy on the outside. But nobody thinks of the brain as part of that temple. We sit around the dining room table or at the kitchen bar every single night for dinner. It's just what we do. I was raised that way. That's how we're raising our child. And every single day, it's like Groundhog Day. Tell me something good that happened today. Tell me something bad that happened today. And then that kind of makes you realize that the bad maybe is not so bad. And then you have your parents to discuss it with, and maybe you can work out, how can it not be bad tomorrow? Or how can I, fix it or avoid it or whatever the case may be. But it's an awesome opportunity for a great conversation and honesty. The dinner table is a place. Joe, it's like you in a counselor's office, and you can say whatever you want to say, and it's not going to go any further. That's the dining room table. That's the kitchen bar. That's dinner. And as long as we practice respect, we respect each other's emotions and feelings and how they perceive it. So, for instance, a situation came up recently. Owen didn't have to go into school until late on this past Tuesday. He wanted to go to Waffle House. We had some errands to run, and he loves Waffle House. I can't think of a more dreadful place personally. However, I have two poached eggs, and I'm good. I don't get all the grease that comes with it. So he loves Waffle House, of course. So we were running errands. We had to go to Tractor Supply to get the dog food, and he said, "We're going to Waffle House, right?" And Kevin immediately answered with a no. It's not convenient. And I said, huh? Why isn't it convenient? He goes, we're running errands and we have a limited amount of time. And he rattled off all these things. But really, what Owen wanted was, you know what? We're running errands and the proximity of Waffle House is here. The proximity of Tractor Supply is here. So we're going to go to this other place today. Next time we'll hit this place. Instead of no. Because, believe it or not, and like it or not, my son is a carbon copy of my husband. And my husband is a nuclear engineer. And he has to know the whys and the hows. Like I'm the Cliff Notes version. Tell me which button to push. I got you. But my husband has to take it all apart and put it back together and figure out the whys. I could give a crap about the whys. But my son is just like my husband. So instead of just no, he needed to know why. Why is it no? And I think when dealing with children or young adults, we're so quick to give one word answers because we have this thing going in our head and we have to get from point A to point B and we have all these errands in between, but when we got to get Owen to school, and he got sucked up into our angst and anxiety to get everything done in an allotted amount of time. And we shouldn't have done it that way. And we should have taken the time to say, hey, this is why, instead of a one-word answer.
That's my life every day. It seems like right now because my Owen wants the why too. And I need the why, but I don't have to like dissect it as much. I can get a bit of it and then I can go on and hit the button because time, right? All right, I understand this, hit the button time. I mean, you guys remember having 6-year-olds, right? And now it's six and a 4-year-old. Like they'll do something, and I say, "Why'd you do that?" Because. I'm like,
Yep.
"That's not an answer." And then when they ask for something, and I say no, and they
Right.
say, "Why?" I said, "Because I said so," and they're like, "Because isn't an answer."
But you want that though.
Yeah.
You don't want a follower as a kid. You want a
Yeah.
leader.
And that's where we're trying to like it's the tact to question with respect and
Exactly.
things. That's where we're struggling with Owen because he'll just say, "Oh, okay." But it's like, "Hey man, you could have defended yourself and got out of trouble potentially if you didn't do what your brother's saying." But he'll just kind of like, all right, take it on the chin and go about his day, which has its pros and cons depending on the situation. But it's like trying to teach a 6-year-old like how to respect authority, but
That's
still
right.
defend himself is, God, that's a struggle.
It is. It is. And you're going to get it right and you're going to get it wrong. And you're going to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning or at night when you're brushing your teeth before bed. And you're going to be like, I suck at this. And then you get a note from your kid, you get a text message from your kid, which I just got a text message this week. It said, "You're the greatest mom ever." And I burst into tears. I'm like, oh my God, I did something right. And man, it's a daily struggle. And I just want my kid to be a good citizen. I want him to be contributing to the good. Um, it's so, it's hard, man. It's really hard. And to point out, he's a chameleon at school. And so he's got friends that are athletes and friends that are country. I guess those are the pickup truck driving guys with
Mhm.
the Wranglers and the John Deere hat. And then there's this whole other fraction I call them the Monopoly money crew. And it's crazy. It's Charlottesville. It's crazy. So he kind of just, weaves in and out of all these groups. And he's got some friends and it wasn't very nice of me, but I was trying to get a point home to him about grades. And sometimes you get what you give. And sometimes if you put off a certain vibe, you're going to get that vibe and then some back. And that some of the guys in his guy crew are never going to leave this area, and they're going to be working up at the Beeville Exxon, throwing pizza slices at high school kids when they're 40. But then you've got the kids that are going to go off and work for their parents' corporations, and they're not going to blaze a trail because they've already got their trail. But then you've got kids that are going to blaze a trail and do their own thing, and they're going to trip and fall, and they're going to get back up, and they're going to do it all over again. Which kid do you want to be? And he thought about it. He said, I think I want to blaze my own trail. I said, there you have it. I said, don't let anybody get in your way. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. And when it gets hard, call me. But you've got this. You absolutely 100% have this. And you have to remind them. And sometimes they get a little full of themselves and, he struts. He's 6 foot. He's taller than both me and Kevin. He's skinny as a rail. He's athletic. He's fast as crap. And, sometimes he puffs up his chest and, he's the big man. And I'm like, brother, I brought you into this world and I will beat your ass. And he respects it. So I don't know. Are you the disciplinarian or is Leanne? Who's the good time parent and who's the disciplinarian?
It's man, it teeters. It really depends on like what kind of mood like, lands around 24 first graders,
Right.
8 hours a day. So like if she comes home and she's been disciplining all day vice like educating, she's like I usually just had it, like whatever. And so it teeters. I try to be the more firm one. And that backfires a lot, but we'll
Kevin's
see.
good time dad and I'm the disciplinarian. And it's always
Yeah.
ask your mom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of ask your moms.
Yeah. So it's, what? I'm glad I have the partner that I do. I can't imagine doing it by myself.
For
Um,
sure.
it's a good journey though. And I'm going to look back on this and say, wow, this was a fun ride for sure. Especially if he does exactly what his heart's most desire. And I told him about the Golden Buddha, the story about there was this monastery at the top of the mountain, and they had this beautiful, brilliant, solid gold Buddha. And war broke out. And the warring faction, the bad guys, chose the temple because it was on top of the mountain. It was more strategic, and they could win. And so the Buddhists covered up the Buddha with this mud gravel concentration and covered it up, and it just looked like a big hunk of concrete. And the war's over, and the people who lived in the temple, they had all died, and there was this young Buddhist, and he went and he sat on the knee of the sculpture to meditate, and a piece of the hard mud chipped off the knee, and it was gold, and it shined brilliantly through. And he started picking and picking and picking, and before he knew it, it was this huge, beautiful gold Buddha. And the temple was saved because of this golden Buddha. And basically, the moral of the story is you can never hide what your heart's most desire. You can suppress it for a while. You can, pretend that it's not what you want, but ultimately, in the end, it's always going to shine through.
Yeah, we'll probably roll right to credits with that. I mean, we usually set it up like, what else do you want to say? And it's like, shit, like.
Sorry. Did we go over?
That's solid.
Well,
no,
yeah,
it wasn't. I don't know what to say now. It was solid.
Well, you know what, Rooster, you did what your heart's most desire. You did it. You wanted to have a fulfilling, awesome life for Ainsley, and you did it. And you made it happen, even when people told you it's a crazy idea, you can't do it, whatever. I'm sure you heard a bunch from naysayers, but you slay, man. You did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Well, yeah, of course.
I'll take the compliment and the attaboys and the affirmation and the observation. I'll take it and feel it.
Share it.
You're right. Yeah, and you're right. We did. We did it.
Joe, you've been there for the whole journey.
Chunk of it, yeah.
That's why we say we. Like there's not a decision that I have made past like 2012, 13 that has been like a unilateral decision. And when it was a unilateral decision, I quickly realized that I probably should have covered down and asked for some opinions before making a unilateral decision. There's not many of those. But yeah, I mean, granted, there's a face to entities, there's a branding to entities, there's a strong force or one that's ultimately responsible for everything the unit does or fails to do. I got all that, but the thing that's really beautiful about the way that we have executed this journey is that it has been a collaborative effort. And I say that, and I turn back to you, Ann, and say that you're part of that collaborative effort. You're part of that process. We learned lessons by talking through things with you. The Together We Shall podcast is about taking all the togetherness things that we travel our journeys in and highlighting, because everybody's got a story. And when we had you come on today, I didn't know that we were going to travel through so many M's, if you will. I knew we were going to talk about marathons. I knew we were going to talk about metal. I knew we were going to talk about melanoma. But what I didn't know we were going to talk about is mom and Hupp. This is May. It's Mother's Day month. Yep. And what you've given us and what you've given Owen forever is a documented, recorded testimonial about how much you love your son.
And I do. We all love our kids. I have one. I had one shot at this. And literally, if you guys only knew, we were patients at Jones for 7 years. I ended up having a grapefruit-sized mass. They removed my left ovarian fallopian tube. So now I only have one. I was a marathon runner on top of it all. So my BMI was ridiculously low. I had to stop running so much. I had to stop eating so much sushi because I had iron building up in my system. And it was a nightmare. And I said, you know what? This is taking the fun out of all of it. Screw it. I'm not doing this anymore. And of course, with very dear friends and too many apple martinis, there's Owen.
There's the part of the story you might not have known, Owen.
Oh, he knows it. He knows it because he was like, "Why are you guys so old? Why did you wait so long? Why were you married for 10 years before you had me?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, that was not the plan."
So now it's marathons, medal, Mother's Day,
Martini.
melanoma, and martinis. Got it.
Martinis. There you go. Exactly.
All
And
in the month of May. And
and there.
marriage, yeah. Yeah, the unity that is, and the lessons of the journey. So this has been fun. There's moments of it that had me laughing. There's moments of it that had me crying. There's moments of it that had me thinking. And all in all, like that's the things. Jimmy V said, laugh, think, cry. If you can do that in a day, one hell of a day. So thanks for giving us one hell of a day, Ann.
Thank you for the honor of inviting me on. I was so excited, and I was so excited that Joe said, "Wow, we've never had a response like that when you guys originally asked me." I was so excited because I just, you know what? I love what you guys do. You're doing it, man. You're 100% pure, which, you know what? Not many people in this world can say that.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure knowing you for, the over the decade. And I look forward to the next time we can clink a glass together.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
So we like to give everybody an opportunity to leave the audience with something as they continue on their day. And now's your time.
Lead by example. Never, ever, ever forget people are watching. And you never know who you're inspiring by, posting the chemo cream treatment for 21 days on your face and it's nasty and it's bloody and it's oozy and it's gross and people are still like, "Oh my God, I went to the dermatologist. Thank you so much for posting all of that." Be the example. And whether it's the example of how to do something right or doing it the way you thought it was supposed to be done and it turns out to be all jacked up. Just be real. Be true. Be honest. It's so easy that it's difficult sometimes.
You know what? I got enough.
He's in charge.
We're done. This was good.
Yeah, we're done here. The structure of this building has reached its capacity.
Find your people, and if they make you feel sexy, even better.